preparing to live stream the meeting, setting up the meeting for YouTube Live. Done redirecting. Okay. And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Stables Media. Taylor Phillips and Ed Smith, Frank Vashner and Darren Weiss are out. 69-48, Michigan leading Michigan State 2 nights after their ugly rout loss to the Illinois Fighting Illini at Chrysler Center. Tonight's game is at Chrysler Center as well. Ed, we'll start with you with your opening statement. Go right ahead.
Opening statement, this is a Michigan Wolverines team that's proven that despite its stumbles, it can get back up easily and prove it's one of the best easily.
Yep. Just had another bad night. Only 2 conference losses against Illinois and Minnesota. I thought the one loss against Illinois was bigger than the one loss against Minnesota, but we'll see. The Michigan could easily recover against Michigan State tonight and this upcoming Sunday late afternoon. So happy birthday to my sister, by the way. Gonna turn 28. So Ed, we'll go right ahead and analyze both Michigan and Michigan State since this is still going on live. 16.7 seconds left. What did you think of the Wolverines beating Iowa and Indiana before their loss to Illinois? You can analyze the entire week if you can before we get to the Spartans here.
Well, in terms of leading up to this Michigan State game, I thought they were playing the best stretch of basketball they had played all season. They didn't fall because after the effort that they showed against Ohio State, they didn't fall into that subsequent trap game against Indiana. They handled business there. And I thought they put on a masterful display against Iowa, holding a player in Luka Garza, who many would consider to be the front runner for National Player of the Year, to possibly his worst offensive outing the entire night of the entire season. That was mainly with Hunter Dickinson taking the duty of being the guy to go one-on-one with him in the low post. So credit to Hunter Dickinson, obviously for the coaches for putting him in the right spot, but credit to Hunter, obviously, since he's the guy that's got to guard Luka Garza one-on-one for most of the time, and he held his own. But again, it was a total team effort. And as Dick Vitale alluded to in the with his commentary tonight with Michigan State, as the buzzer just went final there in Chrysler, we'll get to that analysis a little bit. But with Hunter Dickinson performing at such an efficient rate lately, it comes down to picking your poison against this Michigan team. Would you let Hunter Dickinson eat you up inside in the paint, or do you double team him, but then potentially that opens up one of your shooters to kill you from outside? And as we know, Michigan is not only a solid jump shooting team, they can also hurt you inside, mainly thanks to the presence of Hunter Dickinson, but it's much more than that. They also, in terms of entering this week, they entered as one of the most efficient defensive teams in the nation. I believe they had given up a field goal completion rate of under 40%, 38%. That's one of the top 6 of the entire nation. So this was a Michigan team that not only knew what they could do to beat you offensively, they had the tone, the foundation set with its defense at the forefront. That was something that Juwan Howard was alluding to, was talking about all season long. It was something that unfortunately was not at their best display when they faced against Illinois, mainly due to the fact that I think this was the Illinois team that was motivated, chomping at the bit to get a chance to play this Michigan team, because they had not had a chance before with the postponement that they had gone through weeks prior. So it was a combination of that. The team, Michigan as a whole, coming out flat. Hunter Dickinson into very early foul trouble, and they just could not get a rhythm going. We saw a completely different team, different complete vibe in this game against Michigan State. Even when Hunter Dickinson had to go get in foul trouble again, they were able to sustain the lead, sustain the runs, quell out any rally Michigan State was trying to put together. There was a big turning point where Aaron Henry was trying to cut the lead down to within 5 or so, and he committed an offensive foul. And that was just the opening that Michigan needed, and they ran away from the game from that point on. Hunter Dickinson back to his usual self, performing efficiently. Franz Wagner as well with this offensive contribution, showing you that when he's hot, he can be a very valuable commodity as well for this Michigan team. And really, in general, when you go down the board, as Isaiah Livers, we've talked about ad nauseum. Eli Brooks, we know about how key of a piece he is. Let's not forget about Mike Smith, who was a grad transfer from Columbia, has grown into his role from being one of the star featured players at Columbia to now being a key facilitator for this Michigan team with his assist rate, how he's able to distribute the ball, and how he just commands the floor, which is what you need from your point guard. And I think they've done a terrific job of doing that, knowing that they had to replace an Xavier Simpson from years past. So knowing that, and knowing that this was a Michigan State team that was playing with their backs against the wall, knowing that they had lost one of their two games before this, even though they had won 3 or 4 in a row, knowing they had to get on a crucial stretch, this Michigan squad went out there, handled their business, and now here they are sitting, as it was confirmed, they are now the official outright Big Ten champions for the regular season. And when you consider the fact this was a team that started the season unranked, many people were not predicting them to be even close to this, let alone winning the damn thing, and in the middle of a pandemic, and also coming off of a 3-week hiatus, which with multiple games had to be postponed or canceled, and they still were rolling on its cylinders. They've managed only 2 losses the entire season. Incredible. Juwan Howard not only deserves Coach of the Year for the Big Ten, he deserves Coach of the Year nationally for obvious reasons. And this is a Michigan team, despite its setback and despite its stumble, I would still, against Illinois, this is a team I would not want to be seen in the same bracket with come tournament time, because as we can tell, especially after a loss, when they are motivated, they are on point, there's absolutely nothing you can do, it seems, to stop them. And credit to Michigan State, they gave them all they could handle, knowing what was at stake for them, but it just wasn't meant to be, as was evident from the start.
Right. And before we continue on here, I almost forgot to remind everyone to download the all-new social sports app, VigIt. Enter the referral code Stables for Stables Media when you sign up. Available on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Download the VigIt app and sign up with a referral code Stables, capital S, lowercase letter B in the middle, for 1,000 free Vig coins. First off, Hunter Dickinson, how often does he get into foul trouble, or is that rare?
More so rare. We have seen it come up as an issue as of late. We saw it against Illinois, and they used it to great advantage in terms of taking apart what Michigan was best at in the paint and using it against them. Austin Davis, I think the fact that he was getting in the game that early, didn't get a chance to get himself in rhythm, so to speak, and Illinois just took advantage of that. Whenever he got the ball in the post, they were doubling him, stripping the ball from him, making him, like, even on occasions where he got points or got baskets, did not make it easy at all. So I'm sure it was something that Juwan Howard made notice of to the team in the film session after this Illinois game, because you could see, if you could read what he had read and what he had said for his reaction, he was clearly disappointed and disgusted at the effort that he saw out there. And that was another thing. This Michigan team this year has been known to be as unselfish as you could possibly be, which gives credence to what the 3-headed monster I've constantly referred to, with Wagner, with Livers, and with Dickinson. We didn't see that type of unselfish level on display against Illinois, because you saw players standing around, the ball not being moved or shared around, not much ball movement, which led to better shot opportunities. Now, credit of that does deserve and should go to Illinois for the defensive job they've done, but still, Michigan is a much better team than what they showcased against Illinois, and I thought they did a much better job of rectifying that and showcasing that tonight against MSU. It's still yet to be seen if they can show it again, presumably, let's say, if they meet Illinois again in the conference tournament. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, and if they take on Illinois again at the Big Ten tournament, then Hunter Dickinson will assumingly have to stay out of foul trouble, unlike the previous meeting at Chrysler Center against the Illini. And
True,
now
true, but it also comes down to Michigan executing their offense better, not being stagnant on the offensive end, not standing around in the corner, better ball movement, more better set with their picks and rolls and screens, and also on the opposite end, don't give up so many easy shots. That's one reason why they lost to Illinois by such a large margin. Um, they did not.
that's on the defense.
Yeah, that's on the defense. They did not show a better presence on the defensive side of allowing such easy shots to Illinois. I saw a much better job against MSU, the way they had players up in their face, taking away access to the rim with ease, making them earn every point, even if it was a long jump shot. Far different. Again, it all comes down to effort and energy. Did not see that against Illinois. We definitely saw that tonight against MSU. Now, for MSU on the opposite flip of the coin, all you can say is Aaron Henry played his guts out, and that's about it. No one else gave him the right type of help that he needed. Now, again, credit of that should go to Michigan's defense, but if you're MSU, if you're Tom Izzo, consider the fact that you just came off a stretch where you beat Illinois, you beat Ohio State, and you even beat Indiana despite the loss to Maryland. That was more so, again, the combination of team effort that we saw, everybody getting involved. And for the most part of tonight's game, there was a stretch where you had a 5-minute stretch where nobody scored a point. Even as late as in the middle of the second half, one of the commentators mentioned that Aaron Henry, he's in double digits, yet none of MSU's starting players or anybody in MSU squad had more than 6 points. That is a problem. Massive problem, especially if you're trying to convince some of these people on the selection committee that you want one of these teams, one of these last spots as a bubble team looking in or out. And depending on what they do in this turnaround game against Michigan on Sunday and in the Big Ten tournament, that's going to weigh heavily in the minds of the selection committee. No doubt, you have to think.
Yeah. And that is in East Lansing at 4:30 on Sunday on your local CBS affiliate, Channel 62 in Southfield in the greater Detroit area, and on 9 and 10 News in my area in Cadillac and Traverse City, WWTV and WWP-TV in Sault Ste. Marie, Channel 10, and around all the other northern Michigan regions, and so on and so forth. So that leads us to our question of the night. And by the way, not even Joey Hauser could step up for Michigan State. Where will Michigan fall to in the AP poll rankings after their rout loss at home to Illinois? Now, I know the recovery win against Michigan State is going to factor in, and possibly another win in East Lansing this upcoming Sunday as well. So it's probably not going to be too significant of a drop in the rankings for Michigan. I would say up to 3 at least, if not 6 or 7, probably 4 or 5.
I would say they still stay in the top 5, top 4. And now, if they beat Michigan State again, they stay in the top 4. And also, you got to remember, Illinois does play Ohio State big time game, number 4 versus number 7. Now, if Illinois is able to follow up the win that they had against Michigan and follow up with another win against another quality top 10 opponent against Ohio State, I would not be surprised if, let's say, Illinois jumps to number 2, Michigan falls to number 3, and Gonzaga's number 4, or excuse me, Baylor's number 4. I could see that happening as a possibility. But depending, again, it depends on what we see this upcoming weekend. But if let's say Michigan beats Michigan State and Illinois beats Ohio State, I could see Michigan being number 3, Illinois number 2. Now, if Illinois loses, all bets are off. Michigan could easily retain that top 2 spot with no problem.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, don't forget the seeds in that Big Ten tournament coming up.
It should be a problem because Illinois is going to be on the other opposite side of the bracket, and Michigan, they're going to be the number 1 seed regardless, but they just solidified it by clinching the outright conference title tonight. So,
of course,
they probably wouldn't see Illinois until, I believe, the finals anyway.
Right. I just thought I'd make sure I'd keep track. So
Right.
there's that. So transitioning to pro basketball, the Pistons, we heard earlier today, are expected to buy out Blake Griffin. And then we also heard that other teams are wanting Wayne Ellington, and the Boston Celtics are wanting to trade for Jeremy Grant of all people. Man, I mean, the Pistons trade market is up and running, Ed.
It is. That's also not to mention the fact that, excuse me 1 second, slight technical issue. Going back to the original point of again, this was all speculation, but more it's from a reliable source, what Shams was talking about in The Athletic, that something that we had alluded to multiple weeks ago, that more than likely the Pistons were not going to be able to find a trade partner because of what Blake Griffin's contract currently looks like, and how he is, there have been questions or concerns about him being a long-term health risk with how he's constantly staying hurt. And we didn't see so much of his health come into question this year as we saw his status of his play, as in, can he be that not so much that dominant force inside the paint, but can he be at least efficient, adequate? We didn't really see that as much. We saw him adjust his game more to being that of a shooter. He's not that efficient or accurate as a shooter yet, but you'd still appreciate him giving the effort and the attention to try and switch something in his game to show any number of teams, especially when it's contending, say, hey, if you need a body in there for depth purposes or to help in the rotation, I'm your guy. But again, I don't know if there was any contending team that was willing to touch Blake Griffin at this current status with this contract. So again, as what we all believed, and which I think is going to happen eventually, the Pistons will buy out Blake Griffin's contract. I'll have no other choice. Wayne Ellington, you mentioned him as well. He could be on the trading block as well. He's been the leading point getter for the Pistons tonight so far, and as they're currently losing against the Knicks. And what you mentioned about Jeremy Grant, it doesn't surprise me, considering the fact that he's been their most productive player. You can also say been their best player in more ways than one for them this whole entire season.
Yep.
And
leading the team in scoring in most games.
Exactly. So that kind of effort and that kind of production is going to attract some buyers. And you would be foolish if you were the Pistons to not at least listen to a couple of teams and see what they could offer. Now, if I'm going to trade Jeremy Grant, I'm not going to get him. I'm not going to give him away for pennies or for peanuts. Like, say, for example, if you're Danny Ainge and you're the Celtics, what are you willing to give up to get Jeremy Grant? It's what I would be asking if I was Troy Weaver. Now, I don't know if I would go all the way and say, give me Marcus Smart or else, or no deal. But I would say I would definitely be in his ear about saying, hey, I'm going to need me one of your quality players if you want me to give up Jeremy Grant. More than draft picks can come and go. Sure, I'll take one pick, but I'm gonna need me a player in return, because especially when you consider the fact you already gave away Derrick Rose and you're looking to buy out Blake Griffin, you're gonna need somebody back in return. We saw them get back Dennis Smith Jr. He's working his way into the things, getting to the river thing. I like what I see so far. I like it with the potential of what he can bring. But you still got to see what he does first with the minutes that you give him. That's why he offered to wanting to be willing to be sent to the G League by the Knicks before this trade even went down. He wanted to prove himself of how much better he can get as a player. And you admire that mindset, but now we just got to see the results. Mason Plumlee has done a relatively okay job. Same with Josh Jackson, as well as some of the other young rookies that they have. So you see glimpses of hope in there of what this team in the future could become, but they're not fully developed. They're not fully ready to take that next step by any means, by any stretch. And the way they're currently constructed, this team is going nowhere. And they recognize that, and they realize that. That's why they've made the moves they've made, and they're going to keep making moves up until the trade deadline.
Yep. And by the way, Yeah, that's true. The trade market's going to come up, and we're going to keep our eyes on that. But speaking of the Pistons, last night they beat the Toronto Raptors in Amalie Arena 129 to 105. Two Piston players each got a triple double, believe it or not. Dennis Smith, 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Mason Plumlee, 14 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. They were the first duo to each get a triple double since 1964, when Donnie Butcher and Ray Scott were the first two Pistons ever to each get a triple double and accomplish that feat. Donnie Butcher and Ray Scott back in 1964. Now, yeah, that's just incredible. That I've never seen two players on the same team getting a triple double in a single game. Ed, what do you think about that?
Impressive, very impressive to see that occurrence come up, especially with two players on the same team. But not to poo-poo it or douse water on you on that theory or on that feeling that your emotion might be feeling. Let's not forget that this was against a Toronto Raptors team that was missing 12 people total, 7 coaches and 5 players due to COVID-related issues. So this was as depleted a Raptors team as you can possibly get. They had to play backups on top of backups, because this was a team that did not have Pascal Siakam, did not have Fred VanVleet or OG Anunoby, amongst others. So that was one reason that played into the Pistons having the kind of productive night that they had. But still, you want to take your glimpses of sunshine whenever you can. And in a season to where up to that point, they had yet to even cross the double-digit win plateau for the season. You take what you can get.
Yeah, to sum it all up, you take advantage of all those absences and you cash in at that lottery jackpot, baby. Wow. Get that loot and take it with you. Take all that loot with you on the way home. So Pistons trailing the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden 96 to 82 with about 7.5 to go in the fourth quarter. Mason Plumlee missing but getting fouled by number 3 of the Knicks. I believe it's Noel. Not so sure. Couldn't read clearly the name of the back of that jersey. But anyway, Mason Plumlee was 7:28 to go in that fourth quarter, shooting 2 free throws upcoming.
I think that would be Nerlens Noel you will be referencing if that was the case.
I got the last name right, in other words.
Nerlens.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
There you go. Thank you very much. The Red Wings beat the Nashville Predators 5-2. Sam Gagner a hat trick. Then they split the doubleheader in Chicago, winning 5-3 and then losing 7-2 against the Chicago Blackhawks. In that 7-2 loss, Patrick Kane scored his 400th goal. Wow. Sam Gagner, 4 goals in his last 3 games before losing 4-1. The Red Wings did to the Columbus Blue Jackets at Nationwide Arena. Now they're losing to the Carolina Hurricanes at PNC Arena 4-2 with 7 minutes to go and counting left in the third quarter. Jonathan Bernier in net, but just the same old stuff with Jeff Blashill as head coach. Just nothing new, really.
Now, in their defense, it's not a too much of a logical one. It's almost a bit of a crutch, pardon the pun, pardon the term. But you got to remember, over this past few stretch of games, they're without their captain. They're without Dylan Larkin. Now, I'm of the belief that even before it was announced that he was going to be missing time, he had been playing hurt anyway. They just didn't come out outright and say, hey, he's hurt. He's got something going on with him right now. That would explain his lack of production, because you notice how he had a solid start to the season and then it just dropped off immediately after that. Thank goodness that guys like Sider and Philip Zadina, who, by the way, had his own issues regarding COVID-19 a few weeks back. He's come back. He's healthier now. He's contributing. It's good to see that. But
And he's
now,
got both goals in Carolina tonight.
yeah, I mean, he had a couple points over the weekend, but still, you lose that at a trade-off because what? You don't have your captain, you don't have your best player, and Dylan Larkin out there, uh, not just being that facilitator, but also that goal scorer as well. It would have been nice to see him out there on the ice, rocking and rolling with Zadina. But we couldn't get that, so you play with the cards that you're dealt with, and knowing that Bernier and for that matter, guys can't do it alone by themselves. Knowing how porous their defense is, knowing that how absolutely atrocious their power play has been over the past several weeks now, at a point to where they once surpassed over 60 minutes of total power play time without a single goal. That is the equivalent of playing a full-on 3-period, 20-minute by 20-minute by 20-minute period game of 5-on-4 with a one-man advantage, and you still didn't score a single damn goal. That is, if that's not an indictment against Jed Blashill, I don't know what is. That's just my view. But again, that just speaks.
It's definitely against Blashill.
But that just speaks to how there's still ways and levels to go for this rebuild if you're the Red Wings.
Until last Saturday night, when they finally got a power play goal in Chicago on Saturday night, and then Niederreiter scoring that empty net goal to make it 5-2 Carolina. They've now scored a power play goal through tonight in 4 straight games after that drought. I've listened to Ken Daniels say that on Fox Sports Detroit. 5:05 to go. Wow. 5:05 to go, third period. Way early for Jeff Blashill to pull Bernier for that 6-man on the ice.
I know, 5 minutes to go. You would think they would try to at least wait a couple more minutes. Wait till it got down to at least 3 minutes or so. 5 minutes to go. That is waving the white flag.
Yeah, waving the white flag way too early with still over 5 minutes to go. Now we're under 5 minutes to go, but my God, allowing an empty net goal at a time like that. Wow.
You would
pure
rather,
stupidity, even in the minor leagues.
You would
in
rather
any level.
give that up. You would rather give that up with at least 2 minutes to go, not with a full 5 out left. Now
right.
you're just asking your team, which is
that would definitely ridicule Steve Eisenman from his front office, if you know what I mean.
Now that's asking more of your team, which was already having a struggle to put the puck in the net beforehand. Oh yeah, now go give me 3 goals in 5 minutes.
Oh man, yeah. Tigers started spring training, by the way. Yep. Just whatever the final scores were the past days, they don't count. I get that. But I've been looking at their pitching. Casey Mize in his first outing, no hits, no runs given up, but 3 walks, but 3 strikeouts. Not too shabby, but not great. But Buck Farmer, he's been the dud on this pitching mound for the Tigers. 2/3 of an inning, 4 runs, 3 hits, just no strikeouts, 2 walks. Buck Farmer is just a total dud. I saw his stats yesterday. That's what lost them the game, although that doesn't count. Preseason still matters. We still keep track of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly, Lord. That's just like it was nice to see Derek Holland go out there and get a couple strikeouts. He worked only 1 inning, but still, that's stuff that you want to see from your new signees, showing you a preview of what they can bring in the upcoming season.
Not bad by a veteran, Derek Holland. Yes,
exactly.
Only 1 inning, but yes, better than not proving it at all. Hey, got to prove it at some point of time. So, speaking of the Tigers, former Tigers beat writer Anthony Fennick no longer working at the Free Press. We do have an update from Jeff Moss at the Detroit Sports Rag, but we want to read his latest article from earlier this week. Anthony Fennick no longer works at the Freep from February 25th of this year. I believe that was last week, actually. The Detroit Sports Rag has been able to confirm that Tigers Detroit Free Press beat writer Anthony Fennick no longer works at the paper Fennick's dismissal from the Freep ends a bizarre saga regarding his employment there. While we still have no idea where Fennick is, he hasn't tweeted since July of 2020, and his last Freep article was posted August 28th. We do have some interesting tidbits of Fennick's last few months at the Daily. The DSR has learned through multiple industry sources that Fennick's problems started at the end of the 2019 baseball season. The Freep believe that Fennick had not been acting responsibly in his duties as the Tigers beat writer, which is a bizarre twist since August of 2019. The paper's sports editor, Chris Thomas, posted a lengthy defense of Fennick when former Tiger great Justin Verlander refused to be in Fennick's presence while in the clubhouse of Minute Maid Park in Houston. But I was told that Fennick's juvenile behavior led to Fennick being removed from the Tigers beat and placed on Detroit Pistons coverage. This occurred when human bowling ball Vince Ellis left the Freep to become a full-time propagandist for Tom the New Jim Crow Gores on the Pistons website. No word if Pistons employees are charged $20 for a 20-minute phone call from the team's Henry Ford practice facility or Securus Technologies, actually. One of Securus Technologies and Henry Ford are two different companies. Hey, Ed, remember our interview with Bianca Tylik of Worth Rises?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. When I heard that reference.
Yes, definitely. Anyway, being moved from the Tigers to the Pistons was seen by the paper and by Fennick as a demotion. But something occurred between the time of the slapdown and Fennick actually beginning the Pistons gig full time. Somehow, Fennick received a last-minute reprieve from Thomas and ended up back covering the Tigers. But in true Fennick fashion, he messed that up as well. I have been told the last straw was when the baseball season reconvened in July after the COVID-19 delay. Fennick brought pizza, Jets pizza that is, in a photo, to the park, the ballpark that is, a ballpark anywhere, probably Comerica Park in Detroit, whatever, to share with Lord knows who during the team's training camp at Comerica Park. Yeah, Comerica Park. I got it right, which is a violation of the strict COVID protocols put in place by the team. It seems he compounded the issue with another prank the next day regarding pizza, and that soon after these hilarious hijinks, Fennick was removed from the Tigers beat and placed on the breaking news desk. But after having that job at the paper for a few weeks, Fennick disappeared off the face of the earth. I've been told by several acquaintances of Fennick that he is not answering any text messages and that phone calls to his cell go directly to voicemail. He hasn't been on his PlayStation in a long time either. So since Verlander labeled Fennick unprofessional and unethical, which he is, may I add, Fennick has been demoted by his paper, given a last-minute reprieve, demoted again from his precious Tigers beat, and has fallen off the planet. I am not sure that JV needed any vindication, but considering the massive amount of negative press he received from the blue checkmark baseball Twitter brigade when he had Fennick barred in the summer of 2019, you can add this notch to his Cy Young Awards, his MVP, his World Series title, and is marrying a supermodel, Kate Upton by name, from Sports Illustrated swimsuit. Any tips about the whereabouts of Fennick, please email Jeff Moss at DetroitSportsRag@gmail.com. And then we have the update only by map, not in written words in an article, but by a picture of the map of San Jose, Costa Rica. That is where the DSR has learned that Anthony Fennick is located. Finally, the DSR has found Anthony Fennick. Ed, your thoughts on that?
Well, first and foremost, on the article itself beforehand, detailing what led to Finnick being ousted from the Freep, it's not surprising, given the fact that there have been numerous details and incidents of his behavior that have been accounted for and credited by and dissected by the DSR over the years. And yes, I mean years plural. And that's even before his dust up with Verlander. And when you take all that into consideration in light of, excuse me, the incident that happened in 2019 with Verlander in the clubhouse, uh, JV was more than in the right in my view beforehand, and he's definitely vindicated now, as we've seen. I think it speaks in what the word was unprofessional. That categorizes Anthony Fennick's whole entire career as Tigers beat writer or as or on the Free Press entirely in a nutshell. Um,
Yeah.
his, and as for the update of where his current status is, I gotta be honest with you. All day after after hearing that and seeing that image, I just kept thinking of that scene near the end of Casino when they're doing the montage of of everybody of loose ends being tied up, so to speak. And for some reason, they flash to a scene of a guy running from the mob in Costa Rica. And all of a sudden, I've just been playing House of the Rising Sun in my head all day long. And I just can't get that image out of my head just because we know for a fact now that Fennec somehow, some way turned up in Costa Rica. That's just hilariously beautiful and a poetic way to cap on this story.
Yeah. And although such food as pizza, stuffed crust is my favorite kind with pepperoni, especially personally, maybe tempting me personally, for example, if and or when a journalist such as Anthony Fennick violates COVID protocols, especially at a
Exactly.
ballpark in any way, shape, or form, especially when it has strict COVID protocols, even he knows, Fennick, by himself, he's going to get forced out somehow in some way, shape, or form.
Yes, he played a stupid game and he got dealt a stupid prize,
Yeah, absolutely.
and rightfully
So,
so.
yep. So that is our top story from Jeff Moss of the Detroit Sports Rag. And now we go to the Lions with our What's Your Great segment brought to you by the sports mobile app VigIt. The Lions, who will cut cornerback Desmond Trufant soon, probably the start of the league year on March 17th, they have signed free agent wide receiver Tyrell Williams, whichever that's pronounced, from the Las Vegas Raiders to a 1-year contract worth up to $6.2 million. Ed, what is your grade on Williams?
My grade on Williams, it is a C plus. I think you're doing that for wide receiver depth purposes because there's a good chance uh, between Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, and Denny Amendola becoming free agents. There's a good chance you're not bringing all those guys back. You'd be lucky to bring back Galladay at a franchise tag, knowing how much your cap is going to be tied up between the dead money that you're giving up, that you're going to be taking for trading Matthew Stafford, and the money that you're going to be getting back in return by taking Jared Goff. So between all of that and knowing that Kenny Galladay may be a franchise tag, you're going to have a completely different looking receiver core next season. So a move like this doesn't surprise me. It is worth noting that Williams did miss all of last season because he had a torn labrum in his shoulder, needed surgery, got cut by the Raiders last month. Um, so it's going to be quite interesting to see how that between potentially Kenny Galladay on a franchise tag, maybe Quintez Cephas, and now with Williams amongst a couple of other guys that you throw around for the practice squad or whatever. It's going to be far different of an offense that we're going to be seeing this year, more so than just the quarterbacks being flipped. And it makes me wonder what is their strategy going into the draft and beyond, and whether or not, according to Mel Kiper Jr., or his own belief or in his own words, whether or not they do have plans on building around Jared Goff for the long term. That still remains yet to be seen. But for now, as for my grade for this, I got to give it a C plus.
All right, a C plus with more results awaiting further down the line. I'll go with the C plus as well. So that is our What's Your Great segment, brought to you by the social sports mobile app VIG. Enter the referral code Stables for Stables Media when you sign up. Available on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Download the VIG app and sign up with a referral code Stables with a capital S and the lowercase letter B in the middle for 1,000 free VIG coins. Ed, excellent job as always. That concludes another fine episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Staples Media. We'll be back next week, Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. For Ed Smith and on behalf of Frank Basner and Darren Weiss, this is Taylor Phillips signing off. Follow me on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at DT2Phillips with 2 L's, and follow Ed Smith on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at EdSmith313. At EdSmith313. Thanks very much for listening, downloading, and sharing. And remember, the truth is out there. TTFN, Tata for now, power to the people. Hit them with a high, and we rest our case.